What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. So in today's pre-market video, so I'm actually going live right now. It's 6:07 a.m. if you want to call it. I'm not sure if we're in Pacific Standard Time or in Mountain Standard Time, but we're in Arizona. And pretty much I'm going to be going through a series of stocks within the TD Ameritrade account that I have. I'm using the Thinkorswim platform, and I'm simply going to be trying to identify potential for stocks right as the market opens to have a proper game plan. So I had about 5 to 6 stocks within my watch list that I was going to follow up on this morning. That I've performed a technical analysis last night. It's something that we do every single night, every single day before the day before we perform our technical analysis, and we have like 5 to 6 stocks, whatever it is that you guys gather that there's stocks that you guys identify potential in. And then after you have that, you follow up with the stocks during pre-market hours. You reanalyze those stocks, see if they're still playing out according to plan, and then you focus on those. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm going to be looking at. And I hope you guys enjoy. Again, only trader, but I'll get into all of that. So. There you go right here. Alrighty, so this is all during pre-market hours. So this is the TD Ameritrade platform, and let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off with AMD. AMD having huge moves during pre-market hours. So AMD yesterday, although it had a couple pullbacks from its resistance that it had nearly at $13, it's playing out almost, kind of the way that I kind of predicted it during with the way that it closed. What I mean by that is you never truly know like what's going to happen, right? So it looked like it had pretty solid bounces at around 1220 as of yesterday, if you guys could see that. So let me zoom out a little bit. Let's simply do a 2-day analysis. So AMD was one that we were talking about within our Sunday stock talk, just a huge move within the past couple of days, and just consistent upward trend, right? Started hitting a resistance at about $13 and then had a little pullback during like the mid-market and started bouncing pretty nicely around this area of, the 1220, 1230 area. Kept hitting a resistance and it wasn't really able to hold above 1250. The thing that I found very interesting were these two candlesticks, the ones that spiked up all the way to 1275, and then during aftermarket hours spiked up to 1280. Huge, that's huge on how quick it's spiking up. Ended up closing still green, I believe, on the day, and then started showing signs of upward momentum, but still wasn't able to break the 1250 resistance as you guys could see aftermarket hours. Now that definitely wasn't the case during pre-market hours, and it broke well above the 1250 resistance, and now is approaching the $13 resistance. So like we know, old supports become new resistance levels. So what that means is as AMD is trying to break $13, break above $13 to be back at where it was about maybe like 1 month ago after its huge drop that it had from about $13. It's really making its way back there, but that resistance is really strong since the last time that it hit above $13, it had a huge drop back. So just again, remember, we're most likely going to see pullbacks just because based on its history, we've seen pullbacks there before. Is it going to be as large and as permanent as last time, as in, taking a couple days or if not weeks to come back to this $13 mark? So all I would say is $13 seems to be the ideal sell point, and 100% if it's going to continue to rise. Well, not really. AMD, that seems to be a pretty nice sell point. So for those that have been holding for a couple days, I mean, it really comes down to you and whatever it is that you see potential in and where you plan out AMD to have, like, its price at. But just know a stock doesn't rise forever, right? So understand that you should have a good game plan on where you should sell, and that's really just it. I mean, after it breaks this $13 resistance, that's pretty much all new territory within the past times that anyone within our group has traded it, because the only reason that it came into our radar within TechBot Solutions has to do because of that huge drop it had because of the margin of profit that it built, and now it made up this whole margin of profit already. So just understand that. And pretty much, again, the support is around like 1220, 1225. Resistance is about right now about what is that, 1290, and from 1290 to about this other resistance, 13, 16, is about like 1.97%. So the risk might not be worth it for you if you're not already in AMD, because we have a bunch of traders within the Tech Bud Solutions group chat that have been holding it for days, and that's great for them. So I'm gonna follow up with one other stock. I believe it's CYTR, and it's one that a lot of people within the Tech Bud Solutions are talking right now because of the huge movement that it's had during during its pre-market hours, and that's why this exposure for the group is so good. So you go 5 minutes back, it's had almost a consistent downward trend. It had a bounce here at 48 cents and broke above this 50-cent mark. I necessarily don't like trading stocks that have or that are less than $1. That's just my comfort area. So I probably won't trade CYTR, but there's nothing wrong with talking about it. So based on this previous resistance that it's had here, about 58 cents to 60 cents, that tends to be a pretty solid resistance. It broke above that resistance. It's now trending still upward. So does it have potential to make it back to this 95-cent resistance? Well, it always has that potential, but realistically, is it going to approach that? Well, it comes down to what it is that you see potential in, and how you set up your plan. But what I mean by that is it's already made up so much margin, as in like it closed at about 52 cents and it's at like 60 cents right now. So that's 15% profit. So most likely there's going to be so many people as the market opens that are going to start selling that the demand is going to fall. And then there's going to be a pullback. In that pullback, that's the only time that I would reconsider trading CYTR. As you can see, there's already going to be people after it hits its resistance. It's going to see a downward trend and then probably a huge just panic sell right as the market opens. And it's all about, waiting for the pullback, waiting for the bounce, and then starting to get in when it bounces. So let's say based on this, there's probably going to be a support around like 52 cents. So let's say the pullback brings it down all the way to 52 cents and it bounces. I probably wouldn't get in until it goes above 54 cents. So I would get in around 54. I would cut losses below 52, and then I would, sell most likely around, 58 to 60, because I know where that's the resistance area. So it's all about, again, this video talks about identifying potential. So identifying potential, yes, like CYTR huge has, potential to shoot up to 95%, but realistically, is that like going to happen? Well, based on how it looks like it's performing right now, no. And again, I'm not going based on what I hope for, but I'm going based off what the graph is telling me. And it's all using the data that the graph is giving you, using different indicators to identify, look, it's actually more on the overbought side than on the oversold side, meaning that it's most likely going to have a sell-off. It's going to bounce if it plays out according to my plan. And once it bounces, then that's where I will make the decision to jump on in. And it's because I see value in it and no one else. So let me go ahead and identify the support right there. And then this would be the potential breaking point that I'm finding. So I'll follow up with this one. But let me go ahead and talk about one that I saw potential in yesterday. That was in a consistent downward trend, but that I thought was going to bounce. So this is RIG. After it had its drop below its support at $8.80, it had that just huge drop all the way down to $8.48. It started to bounce. It started to bounce like after after market hours, but it hit a slight resistance here at 860. So is it worth the risk? Well, it has a support here again at around 850. And now it has a resistance at 866. So that potential for profit, if it bounces again at this point, is about 1.64. Really isn't worth it for me. It's in a consistent downward trend. But if we can get back to where it was trading at this $9 mark, then that's the area of opportunity that I would be looking for. So what's my risk, right? Identify potential. Is it worth my risk? I know that the support is at 850. I know that the resistance is at $9. And then the current resistance is about at $8.70. So if this plays out according to plan and it bounces, and I'm not going to get in as it's starting to show signs of downward momentum. What I mean by that is if you see how it's reacting right now, it's actually going down. So as long as it bounces and I start to see an upward momentum, then that's where I will decide to jump on in. And then once it does, then I can decide to jump on in maybe around like 855, 860. I will cut my losses if it drops below 851 or 850. So I'll put my stop loss at $8.48, $8.49. Again, minimizing my risk because I know if it drops below this, then it broke the support. But if it continues to rise, then that's my area of opportunity and that's the potential that I've identified that within one day is possible to make up. And that's worth the risk for me. So what I mean by that is, let's say I get in at 855 after the bounce. If it bounces at 850, the potential for profit to sell off at like $9 is 5.3, but the potential for loss at 855 if I stop loss and sell at 848 is less than 1%. So that potential for like that risk potential, tell about risk management is worth it for me because I've made sense to it. So just know that every time that you trade, that you should make sense of whatever it is that you're trading. Never trade based on anyone else's opinion and only what you see value in as the, hardworking investor. Whatever you see value in, only invest in that. If it doesn't make sense to you and other people are trading it, who cares? Like don't jump into the hype. Don't jump into something that you don't understand when it comes to investing because if you want to be the 10% that succeed, then how are you going to do that without even knowing what it is that you're doing? I think it comes down to a concept, very, very simple. Give me one quick second. I'm so sorry. Let's see if I can actually mute this. I apologize. All right, let's go ahead and get back to it. Let me start sharing my screen. But again, it comes down to a concept very simple. People always ask, oh, okay, like what stock should I be trading? Okay, like, where should I get in? Where should I get out? If you're asking those questions, I apologize, but you're not ready to trade. And is there anything wrong with that? No, it just means that you have to dedicate a little bit more time to learning the concept or maybe doing simulation trading, which means no real monetary risk. And I continue to talk about that because people get so hyped on the idea of I want to make money now. I want to maximize my profit. Yet you don't have the account to accommodate that, right? You don't have the knowledge when it comes to, understanding on how to invest. And you're just hoping that everyone tells you, just because you're a hard worker doesn't mean that you will be automatically successful if you don't know how to trade. And I don't want to subjugate or minimize, what you guys can do, but I just want to understand that you're not misled. It's something that is brought to my attention almost every single day, and I try to guide you guys in the right direction. But it comes down to you to understand that, like, I'm not here to tell you what to trade, nor is anyone within the group of TechBot Solutions. We're here to assist you and just to simply talk about our best practices and our mistakes that have led to us being successful traders. And that's that simple. And we hope that you use that exposure to understand that those that succeed are not going based on, hype, aren't going based on what they like what other people are telling them. In the long run, if you want to treat this as a career, this is a real job. 90% of people lose money in this market. How do you expect to be different by following everything else everyone else does? Meaning that, you don't know how to trade. You're again going based on people's opinion. It just means that you have to put in more work. And if you're not willing to put more work and more time into this, then just identify that at an early time because I would hate for you guys to waste your time. You guys know how valuable I value, you guys as individuals. You guys obviously want to be something different since you guys are watching this video. But understand that, you know, do the work and try the best at whatever it is that you do, even if it's simulation trading or paper trading with no monetary risk. Try to be the best at everything that you do. Try to know the most than anyone else and share it. And then simply by doing that, if you fail, then you know that you've tried and that you did your best and that this just isn't a market for you. You didn't lose any money because you're doing it with the simulation trading or paper trading. Again, we're not here to benefit off of your losses. We're not here like other platforms that tell you what to trade and then hope that you make a mistake and then we profit off of it. In no way, if anything, sometimes when I'm actually, taking a loss, then I talk about it in efforts to you guys don't have to make the same mistake as I do. And that's the whole point of this group. A lot of people don't understand that and don't understand the importance of that. But there's about 21 or 22,500 members within TechBot Solutions that I think see value in that. And it comes down to that concept being so simple. So again, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and then we're going to go through a couple different stocks, again, identifying potential, and see if I can set up a game plan on, um, let's see. All right. I want to hear what you guys have to say within the Tech Bud Solutions group chat. There's a lot of talk on HUSA. It's still rising, man. I'm sorry if I'm getting this member wrong, but there's a couple of people that actually told me about HUSA, but there's one member in specific, I think his name was Ryan, and he told me from the very beginning. He told me or like 1 or 2 days, it had consistent like green days, or one green day, and he was just like, dude, you want to invest in something that continues to appreciate in value, but the reason that I find this one to be so like sketchy is because it's valued at less than $1. So it's more of a true penny stock. And again, I don't feel extremely comfortable always trading stocks less than $1. And again, that's just my style of trading. And it's too close to the RSI. And if it doesn't meet your criteria, or although it continues to show upward momentum, but you don't understand why, should you just jump into the hype just to hope for the best, although you don't understand it? Well, I think that's really the difference from like, some traders and others, is that they kind of just go for it. And there's two ways to approach this. Yes, you can go for it and not just hope for the best, but at least do yourself justice and set up a plan on how you can be profitable. If you see within these past couple of days for HUSA, it's had consistent just bounces of upward momentum. So how would we know when to buy and then when to sell? Well, very quickly, I actually think that it's almost peaking out at, because this little candlestick is almost a little outlier. But this is in a sense where you would almost want to buy in these pullbacks. So once the market opens, if there's a pullback and it bounces, just know if it's continuously been showing signs of upward momentum and then all of a sudden had a huge candlestick showing that it's going down, then it's most likely not going to continue to rise. It's kind of hit its resistance and most likely can continue to drop. But the way that I want to approach this is that you identify support, so that although it's making, pretty much like it's showing signs of upward momentum, but its new lows isn't as low as it was before. So it's still scaling up. And that's what you have to understand. Is it scaling up the way that it should? So there's been a couple like these that have dropped below this red line that I just drew, and that this one is doing right now. So that would be the best price to get in right now. But is it worth the risk? Is it worth getting in right now, trying to get in at the lowest point? Or is it better to get in when it rides this green line to make sure that you are investing in something that is showing signs of upward momentum? Well, that comes down to you as the investor to make sense of whatever it is that you want to invest in. So simply, I'm going to draw a line here as well. Does it look like, and again, this line is just parallel again to this other line that it continues to ride on. And it's almost, maybe if it drops below this red line, then that's an indicator that, okay, it is now going to see larger pullbacks or maybe a downward trend. But HUSA within the past couple of days, 100% I've missed out on because I didn't feel comfortable trading it. But I think the member, I believe again, Andrew, that shouted it out, that really exposed me to this specific stock. Now there's a lot of talk within HUSA, within our group chat, and that's great. A lot of people really like HUSA. We're able to make, I think like 12, maybe 17% profit yesterday. I'm not 100% sure on what it is that they made. But those are huge days. Those are definitely like enormous days when it comes to day trading. As within like the $1,000 challenge, we only try to make 2.3% on average with the power of compounding interest, and that's about it. So let me go ahead and find one last thing, and then we should be good to go. I wanted to follow with FTR, or do a follow-up with FTR. The reason why is because I believe that it bounced. It does have an earnings call. What day is this? Well, today is Wednesday, and this can be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and maybe after Friday, after market hours. So you just want to be aware of that. You probably don't want to hold. but it looks like it bounced at 120. There was a previous resistance at 125 and then at 130, understanding that, right? So like we know, old supports become new resistance levels. So now it's bouncing. And it really comes down to how can you manage your risk. Well, it's a $1.22 stock at the moment. There's buyers at 123, 124. So if anything, it's actually scaling up and showing signs of upward momentum. So we know that there's a new support around this 123 area. And then its resistance can be, again, around 125. So how can you make sense of this trade? Well, again, wherever it is that you identify your support, I usually like to wait for the bounce to show signs of upward momentum, and then you simply sell out the resistance. It looks like there's going to be a stronger and more realistic resistance to sell out at around 128. So that would be my ideal sell point if I were to get in. Yesterday, I almost got in on FTR, and thank God I didn't, because it dropped below the 125 support and the 124 support that it didn't break before, and then it bounced at 120, which was great because it set the support. But again, you want to make sure that it continues to rise. So it's not again about getting it at the lowest point, but that it starts to almost be a mirror image of this downward trend as it continues to rise. So other than that, I'm going to set my alerts. So I'm going to right click right here, create alert when it goes above 125. I'm also going to set my alert right here if it goes below. Again, I want to be up to date on whether it goes above or below. Looks like we have about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. And the last one that I want to follow up on, let's see. Oh, how did I forget this? JDST. So JNUG was a consistent just runner, meaning that, so it's the inverse ETF of JDST. Just a huge runner for the past couple of days. Again, it's one that we had in our Sunday Stock Talk. Finally hit a resistance at $20. I told you, like always, it's not always going to continue to rise. Hit its resistance and is now during pre-market hour showing a downward trend. Does it mean that it's going to fall back exactly at where it was before? Well, doesn't mean that it's going to do it right now. But it looks like there was a support before around 1970, and it looks like it's holding at 1970. So this is going to be the breaking point. And then for JDST, the critical point is $65. I was having a talk with another member within our group, and it was so funny. I was like, well, I would wait, personally until it breaks above 65 to show signs of upward momentum, because I took a small loss. It was like $23 loss when I went in with my Fidelity kind of $3,000 on my position for JDST when I got in at like 67, and I had to stop loss out at 66.50. So that was my mistake, because I tried to get in at the lowest point, and that was my area of opportunity. It was actually like right around this area, as it had a little upward trend and then drop right back down. So you want to make sure that you get in at the bounce, and a really solid resistance. If you guys of yesterday was at $65. So if it can break above $65, then that would personally for me be a good indicator, and it has an overall support at about $62 that I personally like. So I'm going to set my alerts here. But market has opened, if you guys did not hear that. So let's go ahead, and when it goes above 65. So AMD, ooh, PBR went last or below. Let's actually follow up with that one. I haven't seen that one in a while. So this is a Brazilian petroleum company. It's nearly at the lowest point that it's been. That's so funny. And again, it doesn't matter that it's at the lowest point. Does that mean that you should invest in it right now? Well, no. Again, you want to put, most likely, again, at least just for me, I want to invest my money in something that's going to appreciate in value. And it's, although it is showing that it's potentially at a good point, since the RSI and everything is showing to be pretty good. PBR, FTR broke below support. JDSC, oh dang. JDSC broke above 65 again, but you want to make sure that it holds, since it's gone below above 65, but then had pullbacks before. Doesn't really look like it's running. So it's now having a pullback. I'm going to follow with FTR. And again, I'm sorry that I might be like overwhelming some people just because I'm going back and forth with different stocks, but I just want to follow up with some stocks that I was personally looking at and see what's going on. Ooh, that's a solid pullback. My goodness. 21, is it going to bounce at 20 like it did 120? Let's see. I'm gonna have to come back to this one. PCYT. Ooh, this one's actually bouncing. Oh, that's huge. it bounced. It had a support at 156. Previous resistance, previous support. So meaning that it used to bounce or hold above. Again, not talking about this data, but just this data right here. This is what I talk about, like looking at trends, identifying the potential. So it used to have a support here at 159 and a resistance at 161. Now it broke below that support and then it had a new support at 156. And now it has a new resistance at 159, meaning that now it's struggling to go above 159. Does that make sense? Well, yes, old supports become new resistance levels. So as ECYT wants to continue to come back up, it's going to approach these, old supports and old resistance levels, and it's going to almost, just slowly, hopefully staircase up. But does it mean 100% that it's going to do that? No. You never know 100%, and that's why you have to set up a plan that solely makes sense to you. And if it does, great, then go for it. Just make sure that, again, you're identifying your potential. So for like ECYT, the potential, right now it's at 158. I would wait a little bit closer to 156 for it to bounce. And if it holds like a 157, anything like that, then just know, like, the support's at 156. You can set your stop loss there. Above. Okay, set your stop loss there. There's a resistance at 159. So even just with this single trade, that's 1.75% if you're getting from low to high end. But I'd say this resistance at 161 isn't either, unrealistic either, since it's been having pretty solid bounces, and that's more 3% profit. So I'm gonna have to follow up with this one and see if it actually breaks all these resistance levels. Yeah, because these are all different resistance levels, but it's just continuously been on a downward trend for ECYT, and I did trade it a couple days ago, but it's not showing to be a very healthy stock at the moment, so I'm going to have to follow up with it. BIOS was one that my alert went off. Holy moly. Huge green candlesticks. Will I have a pullback? Wow, the volume spiked, but then that's it, so there might be a little sell-off. It was actually showing like consistent signs of upward momentum. Yeah, and it's too high already. Resistance already being at around like $2.50. Current price is at 220. So it does have like 10% potential still. But realistically, is it going to peak out like the way it did today? Well, you never really know, right? But yeah, now it's having a pullback. Snap. Dude, I kept getting alerted on Snapchat. Snapchat was having a horrible day, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday. There we go. Yeah, just consistent downward trend. I think I got alerted when it went above like $20.50, and then I got alerted when it went below like 19.80, and I was like, what the heck? That's huge drop. So, oh my goodness, had a huge pullback. I actually want to look at the news, maybe why. Yeah, not very. Okay, it's bouncing. So this is one green candlestick bounce at 1880, and this is what I like to see. This is catching it at the bounce, identifying the potential. This potential is about 3% if it goes back to where it was at this 1940 area. So it bounced here at this 1880 support. So we've identified our support. So if we're getting around at the bounce here at 1885, cut losses anything below 1881, and try to do a sell at 1940. So that's the potential I see. So I'm going to try to see if I can get in right now with my Fidelity account. It's rising way too quick. All right. All right. I'm going to try to get in at 1895 or better 1890. I'm going to put my limit order in 1890. For 160 shares. Limit order until market closes. All right. So we'll see if we get alerted. I'm gonna put my alert if it drops below. Oh, haven't gotten the message that I got filled. All right, I got filled. All right, it's having a little pullback, but again, I'm just gonna set my stop loss right now. Um, all right, stop loss at 1881. All right. So I have everything set up here. So I'm going to simply set my alerts as this thing continues to rise. Okay, just broke that support. All right. Well, I have my stop loss if it drops below 881, and okay, I got filled. So didn't do very well with that one, but again, I stop lossed out. I understood that the support was at 1881, and that's why I put my stop loss there. Other than that, I mean, let's see where I sold at. Wow, and this is why you should have a stop loss. It's all about managing your risk. So it had a huge drop, and I would have been writing it all the way down and hoping for the best for it to come back up if I didn't get in. Yes, it might continue to bounce. It's Snapchat. It's not a penny stock. But with regardless of whatever it is that you're investing in, you always want to make sure you have a plan for success. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Um, and yeah, that's really just it. So didn't even take a huge loss anyway. It's less than $20. So. It's worth the risk for me for the potential for profit. So it's just something that I'm gonna have to make up later. RSI indicator shows way below 30 hour side, but again, it's not showing. I tried to get in at the lowest point. It's my mistake. Maybe I should wait for 1 to 2 green candlesticks showing a solid bounce. And I'm gonna let Snapchat, sell off a little bit more. I'm gonna put my alert when it goes below this. So hope you guys saw that. And again, that's my mistake on getting in a little bit too early. That's definitely an area of opportunity for me, waiting more for a solid bounce rather than trying to jump in on the hype. Could have waited it until it went above maybe $19. Yes, my potential for profit would have been less, but again, what would have been a more, in a sense, conservative trade. So AMD definitely is peaking out, if I'm not mistaken. So it looks like it's peaking out at $12.96, and it had a huge resistance right as the market opened, had a huge sell-off, and is now, this is almost like how we called it, that it had a support at 1250 to even 1240. Let me go a little bit further back. That's so funny. Well, it's actually at 1225 where I expected to have a more solid bounce, but it looks like it's actually holding around this area because when it bounced at 1220, it had a resistance at 1244. Do you see that when it would bounce and play around in this area? So like we know, old resistance levels become new support levels. So that was my mistake. It's actually bouncing now. So this is one green candlestick. Well, no. Let's go to the 1 minute chart. Okay, this is actually bouncing. So maybe that. Do I want to get in? So I know that 1245 was a pretty solid support. Can I get in? Let's see. There's a new resistance at around 1250. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Snap support at 1805. So it looks like you guys are already watching Snapchat. ABI, L, maybe pullback, sold off. Okay. What the heck? Why is this guy still here? Let's see. There we go. All right. Ooh. All right, so it broke support for Snapchat. Still dropping, not showing a bounce, so there's no reason to jump on in. So JDST, how's that doing? Oh my goodness. Wow, that was, I guess I was too much. I was all over the place, so that was definitely a huge area of opportunity for me. Definitely should have not been, um, I guess, looking at multiple stocks. I guess I just overwhelmed myself. Um, I tried to trade Snapchat thinking that that was going to play out well. So it looks like JDST is actually doing very well. And like we said, it broke above and it held above $65. So that's good. It's now showing a resistance at 67.90, which is actually kind of understandable because if you go back, again, let's see if we could actually zoom out or go back far enough where it hit the resistance here at the 67 mark and then had the huge drop. So if anything, if you guys are up right now, I mean, trade however it is that you guys, see value, like wherever it is that you guys see resistance at. But look, the RSI indicator is way on the overbought side, meaning that it's most likely going to have a pullback. Um, so maybe having a stop loss or locking in profits wouldn't be a bad idea. But it also has still a lot of potential to make up in the long run, right? To come back up all the way up to the 75, old support that it had in this area. But realistically, up to you guys on whatever it is that you guys like want to sell off at. But that's just it. So let's see. FTR is now at 120 again. Up, so it's back at its new support. Or old support, and is it going to drop below? I have my alert set already for FTR, so AMD is J9, JDST, PVR. PVR must have had a bounce. Yeah, I had that little pullback and then had a nice little rise. It's pretty solid. And backs. This is one that we were looking at yesterday that did pretty well right as the market opened. Had a bounce at 104, has a resistance at 110. So again, support, resistance level. Volume is just very dead, so very low. That's not healthy. It's not healthy volume. Let's see. Let's see. I think it broke support and then held above again at 156. So that's frustrating. Just because it's showing now signs that it might even continue to drop even more. So definitely not showing signs of upward momentum for ECYT. But let's see. I want to make sure. I want to see if we can continue seeing or find a good one. Actually, PLUG was one that was recommended to me by one of the members of the group. But again, do your own research, right? So this is why I'm looking to see if I personally identify potential. So it looks like there was a resistance at 1215. Is now having a sell-off. It has a support now at around 1203. Yeah, it's, I think, just way too inflated based on how it's been pumped up. I think this most likely going to be a sell-off. So I'm going to put my alert when it drops below this old resistance, which is going to be the new support most likely. Below. All right. Oh. All right, guys. So that is pretty much it. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I'm going to let you guys get into your whole trading. I'm sorry for distracting some of you if I did. But other than that, I mean, we are all good to go. You guys are all letting me know that Snapchat and AMD were bouncing. So let's see. Yeah, kind of. It hit lows of 1836 and now it's back at 1860. So yeah, FTR. What the heck? 125 from mid support at 120. I guess they don't want me to leave yet. Dang it. And FTR was one that I've been trading consistently. Holy moly. Okay, so it had its support at 120. Again, so that was the ideal buy point. But again, for those that have like a stop loss and stuff like that, might not sometimes want to risk it. But it's now having a resistance at 126, which is understandable. Again, when it was trading around 126 to 128. 126 was its old support. So it becomes a new resistance level. So there's buyers at 125, sellers at 126. So that's showing signs that FTR wants to bounce. So what I would wait for is even just the pullback, and this huge spike probably cause an increase in volume or tension. So let's see, just because it went up so quickly, I mean, from 120, about 5%. That's ridiculous. That's so sweet. All right, it's having a little sell-off, and most likely demand and hype is going to fall off. We're going to see more buyers at 125. Let's see. Oh, it's holding pretty well. Ooh, 123, 124. And is now at its new resistance. So I'm going to set my alert again when it drops below 121. When it drops below 122. So I'll get alerted with that. But I'm sorry, I'll let you guys go. I do apologize again. But that was really cool that we're able to capture that with FTR actually jumping back up. So I have one red day trade for the day, and I'm probably just going to continue to day trade with my Fidelity account. So I'll follow up with you guys. I still don't think I have any of my day trades with my Robinhood account, so I'm going to have to follow up with that one. But other than that, I will let you guys know how I end up closing the day. If you guys have any questions, you guys know how to reach out to me within the TechBud Solutions group chat if you guys want to direct message me. I do have a pretty busy day planned. I'm going to be meeting with a couple different people throughout the day, but I'm really looking forward to speaking to you guys within direct message. So I'm going to try to catch up on some messages and some emails. But other than that, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, guys.